Welcome to the debate.
Hello.
Yes, today we are continuing our deep dive into this really quite extraordinary solo-built journey of Davide. We're charting his path, moving from, well, 3 decades of corporate travel expertise towards trying to establish sustainable financial independence.
Exactly. And this isn't, your standard startup story. It's more of a mosaic, really. Strategy, philosophy, and just sheer grit, it seems.
We're looking at a multi-platform endeavor. There's the blog, AQuietWork.com, a very specific Etsy monetization engine now called TripWin.
Right.
See esoteric branding tied into ancient mythology, and even some, well, highly conceptual, pretty meta content on YouTube where AIs are analyzing his work.
Yeah. The AI reviews. That's something else. And the key point is, all of this is executed by one person, self-taught, and operating under, frankly, severe budget constraints.
And that combination, that complexity, leads us straight to the heart of today's discussion. The central question really is, given the inherent friction, and there is friction, from resource limits and this layered, complex approach, is this AQuietWork blueprint, this fusion of deep industry knowledge, philosophical framing, and self-taught systems, is it actually a sustainable and, importantly, scalable way to achieve long-term economic independence? So my position is this. I'll be arguing that this self-imposed complexity, the philosophical anchoring, it's not friction, not really. It's actually essential for building authentic, long-term resilience and creating truly differentiated, high-value intellectual property.
Okay. And I'll be questioning whether this level of dispersion, this reliance on perpetual self-teaching, if it just creates an immense, maybe unnecessary overhead. Does it ultimately compromise the efficiency and the streamlined path needed to meet what is a very clearly stated goal: financial independence?
Well, look, I see why you might think this journey seems overly complex, but let me try and frame it differently, perhaps more in line with how Davide might see it. This is an intentional shift, okay? It's towards product sovereignty. It's driven by integrity and the hard-won knowledge from, 30 years in the trenches. The journey itself holds the value proposition here. The blog, it shares the 25 life lessons learned from corporate burnout.
Right, the reflections.
Exactly. The Etsy store leverages that specific insider knowledge to create genuinely practical solutions for travelers. And the philosophical anchor, the Ride-Ho rune, are that ancient symbol of a purposeful journey. That's the guide rail. It's there for sustainable growth. This synergy, this connection, it's the necessary armor, I think, for long-term survival in this kind of solo venture. This approach isn't really chasing speed. It's about establishing a rhythm. The struggle, yeah, the late nights, the low or zero budget. These aren't just constraints to be overcome. They are, in a way, foundational elements. They're proving that true success, defined on one's own terms, is actually possible.
That's certainly a compelling vision, I grant you that. But I do come at it from a different angle, focusing perhaps more clinically on the stated goal. If the objective is financial independence, I struggle to accept that maximizing complexity and relying entirely on self-taught systems is the most, let's say, efficient path toward hitting that financial metric. The strategy, it risks being overly dispersed, doesn't it? And relying maybe too much on the founder's intrinsic personal passion rather than establishing clear market efficiency. I mean, when you move from a reflective, almost philosophical WordPress blog to a niche Etsy store selling very specific products, like that travel protection bundle with US DOT claim templates and EU261 assistance.
Extremely practical tools.
Extremely practical, yes. But then you layer on this highly conceptual YouTube content with AIs reviewing the process. You risk segmenting your message, potentially confusing the average, probably stressed traveler who just needs a clear, practical solution right now.
And yet, that niche traveler receives a phenomenal toolkit, grounded in 3 decades of professional, hard-earned experience.
They receive a great product. I absolutely agree, yes. But at what cost? Specifically, what cost to the creator's time and energy? The source material, it documents the energy spent troubleshooting technical issues deep into the night, 2.26 a.m. fixes, using AI just to understand the basic difference between a WordPress post and a static page. That represents a massive internal friction cost, doesn't it? If the goal is stability and financial security, shouldn't the strategy prioritize formalized, streamlined processes, maybe like immediate investment in expert training, rather than this prolonged, low-budget solo learning curve punctuated by late-night troubleshooting?
That's actually a perfect segue into our core debate point about strategy, that fundamental trade-off between self-teaching and formal mentorship, especially when time and capital are so incredibly limited.
Exactly. Because the reliance on prompting AIs like this Alex persona from ChatGPT to learn basic web development or fix layout issues at 2:26 a.m., that just screams time inefficiency to me. Given the constraints, wasn't prioritizing professional training something like the Nancy Badillo Etsy Mastery course, which he eventually did, a necessary step that probably should have come before all the low-budget DIY coding attempts?
I'm sorry, but I just don't quite buy that the early self-teaching was inherently inefficient. Let me tell you why. We need to look at this not just through the lens of pure velocity or speed, but through the concept of the cost of capital. When David started, his monetary capital was effectively zero, but his time, while yes, it was constrained, was the only resource he could actually dedicate. So using AI collaborators, specifically Alex, who he frames as the defender of people, helping simplify and refocus technical tasks, that was about maximizing intellectual output despite that zero budget constraint. It feels like a conscious choice, prioritizing learning the underlying system, building that self-sovereign technical foundation, over spending scarce capital he didn't have on immediate, maybe outsourced solutions.
But that zero-budget approach, it came with a tremendous opportunity cost in terms of time, surely. Given the acute time and financial constraints, we have to remember he's juggling multiple jobs, spending hours learning basic web architecture from an AI in the dead of night. That's a huge dream. Nancy Badillo's Etsy Mastery course, which, as you said, he did eventually leverage, provides immediate proven structure for the actual monetization engine. My position here is that prioritizing that professional training, the training for the monetization platform, should have perhaps preceded the prolonged low-budget DIY coding attempts on the, let's call it the philosophical platform, the blog. The goal is financial independence. Shouldn't rapid, efficient income generation via Etsy have been the absolute initial focus, not foundational WordPress troubleshooting?
I see your point regarding the immediate efficiency you get from external expertise. And yes, Nancy Badillo's structure is undoubtedly invaluable for scaling the TripWin store. She helps formalize that path to cash flow. However, the ability to adapt and learn every single day, to truly internalize the technical workings of the platform, that is the core tenet, I believe, of this project's resilience. The technical foundation had to be built from grit, precisely to ensure that product sovereignty we talked about. That documented interaction with Alex, where the AI confirms we're making it work step by step, block by block, that reinforces the value Davide places on strength from struggle. It creates an anti-fragile foundation, doesn't it? Think about it. If he had just outsourced the technical build from day one, he would be perpetually dependent on external support every single time some minor layout issue or a plugin conflict cropped up. The DIY technical work, it's like a necessary baptism by fire. It guarantees the resilience needed when the builder stands completely alone.
Okay, that strong defense of independence, it leads us directly into the branding strategy, which is perhaps the most conceptually dense element of this whole project. You champion integrating the Rado rune, R, into the TripWin brand, transforming a practical claim kit into, well, a guiding philosophy.
Absolutely. The branding is purposefully multi-layered, and I believe it creates a highly defensible moat around the project. The shift to TripWin Integrating that Norse rune, which signifies purposeful movement, it transforms a simple travel offering into a much deeper framework of self-reliance and protection. This deeper, authentic framing backed by that rather intense mantra, until it's done, tell no one. It resonates, I think, specifically with the quiet builder niche he seems to be cultivating. That fosters sustained community growth and loyalty. And that kind of deep alignment, at the end of the day, is ultimately more valuable for long-term stability and customer lifetime value than just quick, superficial sales driven purely by transactional advertising.
That's a compelling argument for brand integrity, certainly, but let's just pause and consider the conversion funnel for a moment. We're talking about selling very practical items, the travel protection bundle, ebook, toolkit, claim kits on Etsy. Now, Etsy is a platform largely dominated by immediate visual clarity and searchability, right? We should probably clarify briefly for listeners the EU261 regulation is the European Union's law protecting air passengers, and DOT refers to the US Department of Transportation regulations. These are serious, practical tools for financial recovery we're talking about.
Indeed.
So, does linking an ancient Norse rune, which, let's be honest, requires reading an entire accompanying ebook just to fully understand its significance, does linking that to hyper-practical US DOT and EU261 templates create an unnecessary barrier, an unnecessary point of friction for the average traveler who is likely stressed, probably needing rapid response and clarity, not esoteric philosophy right at that moment? Does this sort of over-engineering of the why potentially slow down the necessary rapid path to financial independence by maybe degrading the conversion rate? The customer often needs the how right now, not the deep philosophical why.
But that assumes the customer only ever engages at the surface level. The practical tools, the templates, the EC261 specifics, the insider knowledge on airline excuses, they are instantly actionable, regardless of philosophical alignment. That's the tangible value, right there. The Rito layer, that esoteric depth, that's what potentially converts a purely transactional customer into a loyal, repeat customer. Someone who engages with the blog, with the whole ethos. It secures the emotional connection. The product offers real value, as David A. puts it. Rito is the guiding principle that prevents the project from becoming compromised, ensuring it maintains its internal alignment. I mean, if you look at high-value niche marketing, this is exactly the kind of deep narrative that can justify a higher price point and dramatically improve customer retention, compared to some sterile, purely functional claim kit you could get anywhere.
Okay, we can agree that integrity is essential, but let's pivot slightly to address the crucial practical challenge here: sustainability. The material clearly demonstrates active content creation across multiple fronts: a WordPress blog, AQuietWork.com, management of a growing Etsy shop, TripWin, and the production of that highly conceptual YouTube content. The AI is reviewing the business. Now that is an incredibly heavy load for one person, especially someone who explicitly states they adhere to the principle of rest before you are tired. The central risk here, as I see it, is burnout. Plain and simple. Is this scattered effort across 3 disparate and quite intensive platforms truly guarding energy, as the philosophy suggests? Or is it actually creating a single point of catastrophic failure, one tied entirely to the individual creator's finite time and energy, thereby jeopardizing the long-term project and the ultimate financial goal?
See, I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning, because I don't see the platforms as truly disparate. I think they form an integrated ecosystem. The energy isn't really scattered. It's more like it's efficiently compartmentalized and even recycled. Think of it almost like a closed-loop system. The blog, okay, that's for reflecting on the lessons learned, which, by the way, provides new content for the philosophical element. The Etsy shop is the direct monetization engine, generating capital based on applied expertise. And the YouTube content, yes, the Meta AI reviews, it's actually a pretty clever, possibly low-effort way to market the process itself and demonstrate the self-teaching journey he's on. This system, I think, ensures consistent creation, even when maybe inspiration lags, because it can draw energy from reflection and from technical experimentation.
Low effort marketing, maybe, but still effort.
Well, yes, but integrated effort. This approach, moving from maybe a singular focus initially to this integrated everything, it prevents intellectual stagnancy. It ensures the creator remains deeply engaged because the work is always evolving, always authentically connected to him. It is, in fact, a form of active energy management, I'd argue, one that fosters intellectual anti-fragility, allowing the project to gain strength from the necessary daily struggles rather than being paralyzed by the kind of repetitive, streamlined tasks that often define hyper-focused, maybe less personal businesses.
It sounds less like compartmentalizing energy and perhaps more like building a deeply personal intellectual engine that requires constant, direct hands-on input from the founder just to function. And while the intellectual rewards might be high, scalability without the individual creator, that remains a profound challenge, doesn't it? This sheer level of philosophical and technical ownership, it makes delegating tasks or bringing in partners incredibly difficult down the line, potentially capping the long-term earning potential required for true financial independence.
But that effort, that deep ownership, is the foundation of resilience. Scaling, that can be taught. Integrity cannot. The very fact that the process relies so heavily on the founder's passion and direct involvement today means the foundation being built is rock solid for the future. And he has demonstrated the ability to leverage external structure, like Nancy Baddiel's course, when it's needed for efficiency. But crucially, he retains that deep technical control necessary for sovereignty.
The quiet work continues then, clearly defined by resilience and grit. We've certainly seen how 3 decades of deep industry knowledge is being leveraged into specific high-value tools. However, the path to financial independence, which is the clear stated objective, it must eventually prioritize scaling efficiency. So the fundamental disagreement, I think, remains whether this substantial philosophical investment in complexity, this commitment to solo, low-budget execution, will it ultimately prove more resilient and sustainable in the long run? Or will it simply be a much slower, more challenging road than a hyper-focused, streamlined strategy that might have prioritized external capital and mentorship much earlier?
And my view remains, the focus is on purposeful, rhythmic movement. That's the essence of Rado. To build a stable future on truly personal terms. This multi-layered approach, driven by integrity and that hard-won self-taught resilience, it isn't just a project, it feels more like a fundamental reclamation of one's own story. And perhaps, for Davide, it's the only way to build something that truly lasts and provides genuine independence.
Well, the material absolutely shows a journey defined by unwavering determination, leveraging incredible insider expertise into highly actionable products. Ultimately, we have to leave it to the listener to consider whether this particular blueprint, one built on resilience and complexity, is the most effective way to navigate the often difficult road to economic freedom in the long run.